With the new Pyro system out comes with a variety of new factions, but in this video we're going to take a look at the two factions you can affiliate yourself with, the Headhunters and Citizens for Prosperity, and we're going to compare between these two factions. Currently I'm recording this in the 4.0 preview build, which is the incomplete version of 4.0, so when actual Alpha 4.0 comes out, I may have to make an updated video about this depending on how much has changed. Now I'm not going to tell you which one you should choose because that's up to you. Of course you can try to have it both ways and string them along if you can't decide by doing missions that don't involve the other faction. In fact, that's what the initial missions are when you're starting out with Headhunters and Citizens for Prosperity, or CFP, but we'll talk more about the missions later. According to the lore, the Headhunters and CFP both claim to be the good guys, but in different ways, and because of that they're sort of locked into this power struggle against each other. The CFP acts more like a police force, or at least tries to be, and Headhunters acts more like the Mafia. The thing about all of these factions in Pyro is that they all have their own locations, and Headhunters and CFP are no exceptions. On screen are all the locations owned by the CFP or Headhunters. There's a lot of them, and there are different types of them, so I've labeled them on screen. If you want more detailed information about these locations, I recommend clicking on the spreadsheet made by Chris GBG that I linked in the description. There's also the fact that in the near future, CIG plans to have some space stations in Pyro be run by the CFP, so that's also something that you should keep in mind. And this is probably one of the perks of playing both sides, cause you can access all of the locations and buy all their shit. Otherwise, if one side doesn't like you and you go to their outpost, then you'll be shot on sight, either by the turrets or by the NPCs. Alright, so let's go over the missions. For CFP, they'll give you both hauling missions and mercenary missions. The only mercenary mission that the CFP offers in the beginning are pilots in distress missions, either in asteroid clusters or around asteroid bases. They do offer an introductory mission called Establishing Security, which involves clearing one of their outposts of bad guys, but I've only seen it show up when I was at the Stand Gateway. The distress missions involves flying to an asteroid cluster or base and protecting a civilian cargo ship from a swarm of small hostile ships. It's doable with the starter ship. I've done it many times, although I've also failed many times. If one of the enemy ships shoots a missile at you, you're kinda cooked if you're flying a starter ship like I was. They also offer hauling missions, which I never did because I only had a Mustang, and salvage missions, which I never did because I don't have a Vulture, so I only did the mercenary missions. For Headhunters, they have three types of mercenary missions: Deep Space Hit, Reputation Management, and Kill the King. Deep Space Hit involves flying to and infiltrating an asteroid base to kill a specific target. Reputation Management involves flying to a derelict outpost and killing everyone there, and Kill the King involves killing a specific target at an outpost. They also have three unverified mercenary missions as well. One involves turning the lights off at an asteroid base, which has no payout, so I'm assuming the reward is purely rep. There's two initiation missions, which are like the reverse of Pilot in Distress, where you have a specific target to kill. I should also mention, Headhunters have salvage missions as well, similar to the CFP. Now if you want to make good money doing mercenary missions in Pyro, you're eventually going to have to choose a side. As you can see, I've progressed to applicant tier for CFP, and if you look at the missions, the CFP missions have disappeared. Looking at the Bounty Hunter tab, to progress, I have to do a mission against the Headhunters, and the same thing in the Unverified Mercenary tab. In fact, I can't do any other missions for them like hauling or salvaging until I complete one of these missions. Right now it's not clear if that will still be the case for 4.0 proper. And I assume this also applies to Headhunters as well. I say assume because I never got that far with Headhunters, not yet at least. Grinding rep for CFP was a massive pain in the ass, cause it turns out Star Citizen is still incredibly buggy. From missions not updating, to the target ship being teleported to the middle of nowhere, to the quest marker not even popping up so I had to guess which cluster the ship is in, and even if I was right, I'll be too far from the ship that will blow up before I reach it. And this is in addition to getting cheesed by missiles. But here are some missions from CFP and Headhunters from players who have picked a side. And it's not just mercenary missions, there's also new salvage missions as well. The main difference between CFP and Headhunter mercenary missions, as far as I can tell, is that allies and civilians will spawn in CFP missions, whereas I've never seen allies or civilians spawn in Headhunter missions, despite the objective saying not to harm them. But even after you pick a side, you can still change your mind. I believe for CFP it would be in the Bounty Hunter tab called It's Not Too Late, which again involves blowing up Headhunter ships, and for Headhunters it would be a mission called Catch a Word Real Quick. There are unverified missions for both sides that do the same thing. Now I haven't done those missions yet, but according to this comment on Reddit, if you do one of those missions and switch sides, you'll automatically be put back to a full applicant rank, so at least you're not forced to grind through the neutral and applicant tiers. So I have some notes to go over. When I first did the CFP mission, it bugged, and I couldn't finish it, so I failed, and as a result, CFP became hostile to me, which seems kinda severe. And the only way the CFP gave me missions was when I started completing Headhunter missions, and the missions CFP gave me were the flip missions, you know, the ones I mentioned earlier. So if you failed both your first CFP and Headhunter missions, you may be locked out of mercenary missions in Pyro entirely. Of course, I never tested it because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to make this video. However, if you did get on the bad side of either faction before you decide to commit to one, there is a quick way to make them both neutral again, and that is to fail a mission. When I failed a Headhunter mission after completing a couple of them, CFP were no longer hostile to me and I was able to do the missions again. This was something I discovered by accident and is by no means a guarantee that it works, but it worked for me. And that's everything I know so far about the Citizens for Prosperity and Headhunters in Star Citizen. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe and ring that bell. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these new factions. And who would you join? I'm curious. I'll be doing a deeper dive into each of these factions and check out their money making potential, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Although with the grind and Star Citizen being Star Citizen, there's a good chance I'll throw my hands in the air and move on to something else. And right now 4.0 preview for a lot of people is very buggy. I myself have ran into a lot of issues like the error 318 bug, which if that's affecting you too, then I have a video for that linked in my description, which still works for me almost 2 years after I made that video. In the meantime, if you want to know how to go into Pyro to do these missions, then I highly recommend you watch this video right here.